What really happens in the first 5 minutes after the power suddenly goes out? What's the very first item you'll reach for? And which one will quietly determine whether the days that follow are just an inconvenience or a full-blown crisis for your family? In today's video, we're counting down 7 items that become priceless during a power outage. Most of them aren't expensive, but when everything around you stops working, their value can change completely. Because in the end, losing power isn't just about losing the lights. It's the moment you find out what in your home still works and what doesn't. Number 7. Headlamp. When the power goes out, most people have the same first instinct. They open the kitchen drawer, grab the flashlight they always keep there, and think they've solved their first problem. But within a few minutes, they realize the real challenge isn't that the house is too dark. It's that one of their hands is always busy holding the light. Picture an evening after a storm. A father is carrying his young child, who's running a fever. He needs to open the medicine cabinet, grab the thermometer, pour a glass of water, and check the breaker panel. Each task should take only a few seconds. But now the flashlight keeps pointing the wrong way every time he bends down, opens a door, or turns around. One moment the beam is on the ceiling. The next, it's on the floor. Even simple tasks become slower and more awkward. Not because there's not enough light, because he's always missing one free hand. That's why firefighters, rescue crews, and utility workers rarely rely on a handheld flashlight when they're working in the dark. They wear the light on their head, not because a headlamp is brighter, but because when you need to climb, carry equipment, open doors, or help someone else, both hands matter. In an emergency, speed and flexibility often make a bigger difference than a few hundred extra lumens. That's the real value of a headlamp. It doesn't change the darkness. It changes the way you work in the darkness. Think about everyday tasks. Carrying a case of water from the garage to the kitchen, taking the dog outside, sweeping up broken glass after a windstorm, cooking dinner for the family, helping an elderly parent down the stairs, checking the generator in the backyard. In every one of those situations, having both hands free makes the job faster, safer, and far less stressful. There's something many people don't realize until they've been through an extended power outage. What wears them down isn't the darkness. It's that every small task takes longer because they're constantly holding a flashlight. Each one only costs a few extra seconds, but together those seconds turn into hours. And once your normal routine starts falling apart, the stress inside the house begins to build. That's also why people with emergency preparedness experience don't spend all their money on one expensive flashlight for everyone to share. They keep several dependable lights, so every family member has one of their own. When everyone can move around and handle their own tasks, the whole household works much more smoothly. If you're planning to buy one, look for a model that runs on standard AIA or AAA batteries. They're easier to stock and much easier to replace during a long outage. A headlamp rated around 200 to 400 lumens is more than enough for most jobs around the house. A red light mode and basic water resistance are also worthwhile features if you'll be using it in bad weather or for long periods. More importantly, don't store it somewhere that takes several minutes to find. Many people keep one beside the bed and another in a central spot in the house. If the power goes out at 2 o'clock in the morning, the last thing you want is to search for light in the dark. A handheld flashlight helps you see what's around you. A headlamp helps you keep living and working almost as if nothing changed. And once the whole house has enough light to keep functioning, you'll quickly realize that the thing becoming more valuable with every passing minute is no longer light. It's clean water, the resource your family will depend on in the days ahead. Number 6. Bathtub water storage bag. One of the biggest mistakes people make before a storm is rushing out to buy more bottled water. Meanwhile, many families already have nearly 100 gallons of water available inside their own home without even realizing it. The real question isn't how much water you have. It's whether you can keep that water clean before the opportunity is gone. That's why many people with emergency preparedness experience don't head to the grocery store first when a storm warning is issued. They head straight to the bathroom. It sounds strange, but think about this. The moment the weather forecast starts mentioning the possibility of a prolonged power outage, the countdown has already begun. Every minute that passes increases the chance of problems with the water system or a drop in water pressure. If the pumping stations lose power or a water main is damaged, your window to store clean water can close much faster than most people realize. That's when a bathtub water storage bag becomes incredibly valuable. At first glance, it's just a giant plastic bag. But the value isn't the bag. The value is the time it saves. Many people think a bathtub is simply a place to hold water. In reality, a regular bathtub isn't an ideal place to store drinking water. Soap residue, dirt, and bacteria left on the surface can quickly contaminate water that's poured directly into the tub. That's why these storage bags create a sealed, food-grade liner inside the bathtub, helping keep the water much cleaner during storage. In about 20 minutes, an ordinary bathtub can become a reservoir holding nearly 100 gallons of clean water, enough to supply a family for days with careful use. What's interesting is that many people store water with only one purpose in mind: drinking it. But after major storms, they quickly discover that most of their water during the first few days is used for everything else. Washing hands before handling food, brushing teeth, mixing medication, cleaning up, washing essential cookware, and just as importantly, manually flushing the toilet when the plumbing is no longer working. Simply maintaining basic hygiene can go a long way toward keeping the whole family calmer and more comfortable. There's a saying you'll often hear from people who've lived through hurricane seasons along the Gulf Coast. Families rarely run out of water because there wasn't enough water. They run out because they ran out of time to save it. That's a very different problem. Another common mistake is waiting until the water pressure starts dropping before trying to fill the tub. By then, the clock has almost run out. As the pressure falls, filling containers becomes much slower and may eventually stop altogether. Preparing early is always easier than racing against a water system that's already failing. If your home doesn't have a bathtub, don't assume you're out of options. Many homes still have another source of clean water that often goes unnoticed: the water heater. In many situations, if it's properly isolated before the municipal water supply is affected, the water inside can become a valuable emergency reserve for the whole family. It's another tip that longtime preppers often pass along after every hurricane season. If you're buying a bathtub water storage bag, look for one made from food-grade, BPA-free materials, and one that includes a siphon pump, so you can remove water without opening the entire bag. A sealed design helps reduce contamination and keeps the water usable longer. What's remarkable is that this bag can sit untouched in a box for years without anyone thinking about it. But the moment a storm warning is issued, its value changes overnight. While everyone else is standing in line buying cases of bottled water, you're making use of the clean water already inside your own home before it's gone. Preparing for water isn't about buying more water than everyone else. It's about protecting the clean water you already have before everyone realizes they've run out of time. And once you've taken care of your water supply, you'll quickly run into another problem. Having clean water doesn't mean you can make a hot meal. That's when the next item becomes priceless. Number 5. Portable butane camp stove. During an extended power outage, many families still have plenty of food in the house. They just can't turn it into a real meal. A crisis rarely takes away your food first. It takes away your ability to turn that food into a hot meal. That's why a portable butane camp stove is on today's list. Not because it lets you cook elaborate meals, but because it helps your family hold on to the routines that matter most when everything else has changed. Imagine it's the second day without power. For breakfast, everyone eats crackers, energy bars, or peanut butter on bread to conserve fuel. By lunchtime, cold food is already getting old. The kids keep asking when they'll have rice again. The older adults take a few bites, then push their plates away. Not because the house has run out of food, but because there's no longer a way to turn those ingredients into a meal people actually want to eat. Then the camp stove comes out. A few minutes later, water starts to boil. The smell of coffee fills the kitchen. A pot of hot soup is steaming on the table. Nothing has changed outside. The power is still out. The storm is still there. But inside the house, everything feels different. That's something many families who have lived through major storms remember clearly. They may not remember exactly what they ate during those days, but they remember the first hot meal after the lights went out. During a crisis, familiar routines can bring more comfort than almost any reassuring words. That's why many longtime preppers make cooking a priority as soon as they've secured light and clean water. The real value of a camp stove isn't cooking complicated meals. It's turning the simplest ingredients into a real meal. A can of soup, a pack of ramen, a bowl of oatmeal, a cup of instant porridge, or simply a pot of hot water for medication. During a power outage, those ordinary meals become the foundation that helps keep the whole family healthy and in good spirits. A camp stove doesn't just produce heat. It prevents a chain reaction of small problems. No hot water. Difficulty taking medication. No easy way to prepare soft foods. Young children eating less. Older adults struggling to eat. Everyone becoming more stressed and irritable. A crisis rarely becomes overwhelming because of one major problem. It becomes exhausting because dozens of small inconveniences pile up all day long. A camp stove helps break that chain before it starts. If you have young children, older family members, or someone who depends on medication, its value becomes even more obvious. A bowl of hot cereal, a cup of hot water for medicine, or a mug of warm milk can matter far more than a big meal. One piece of advice experienced preppers often share is this: don't just buy a stove and put it away. Take it out now and cook a few meals with it. You'll learn how long each fuel canister lasts, how many minutes it takes to boil water, and how much fuel your family actually needs. That's also why they rarely store just one fuel canister. A stove is only useful if you still have fuel to run it. This is also the most important safety reminder in today's list. Never bring a charcoal grill or an outdoor grill inside your home. Carbon monoxide is colorless and odorless, and it can build up dangerously fast in enclosed spaces. If you're using a portable butane stove, always operate it in a well-ventilated area and follow the manufacturer's safety instructions. When choosing one, look for a model that's sturdy, easy to swap fuel canisters, has reliable ignition, and fits your family's needs. The goal isn't to buy the most expensive stove. The goal is to have one you can pull out and use immediately when you need it. A portable camp stove won't stop the storm from coming, but it can preserve the first thing a crisis always tries to take away: your family's sense of normal. And once you have light, clean water, and a hot meal, you'll begin to notice another problem quietly creeping in. Not food, not fuel, but the backup power you have left, slowly running out with every passing hour. Number 4. LiFePO₄ power station. There's a scene that plays out after almost every extended power outage. The whole neighborhood goes dark. Then suddenly one house roars to life. A generator starts rumbling. The lights come back on. The smell of gasoline drifts through the air. Within seconds, everyone on the block knows that house has power. But farther down the street, another house has lights too. No engine, no exhaust. No one even notices. That's the difference between generating a lot of electricity and using electricity wisely. Many people assume that losing power means restoring the entire house back to normal. But in most situations, you don't need every appliance running. You only need the ones that matter most. Your phone, lights, a fan, a radio, a laptop, your internet router, if service is still available, or a CPAP machine if someone in your family depends on one. That's why LiFePO₄ power stations have become a popular choice for more and more families. Not because they replace a generator, but because they can keep your essential devices running through the first few days of a power outage. The most common mistake people make is shopping for backup power based only on wattage or battery size without asking one simple question. What do I actually need to keep running? A good power station doesn't light up the whole house. It keeps the most important things from shutting down. That's what makes the difference. While many people plug in the TV first, experienced preppers usually prioritize their phones, radio, lights, fans, or a CPAP machine. Entertainment can wait. Communication, light, and medical equipment cannot. A generator is still the right choice if you need to run a well pump, a large freezer, or power your entire home for several days. But if your goal is simply to keep daily life moving, a power station can handle most essential needs with far less hassle. Don't buy one and leave it sitting in the box. Use it before you need it. Charge your phone. Run a fan. Test the devices you actually plan to rely on. A crisis is the worst time to read the instruction manual for the first time. If you're shopping for one, prioritize a LiFePO₄ battery, a pure sine wave inverter, and a capacity that matches your real needs instead of simply chasing the biggest number. But no matter which model you choose, don't wait until a storm warning is issued to charge it. Backup power is only valuable when it's ready to go. The greatest value of a power station isn't how much electricity it stores. It's the ordinary moments it helps you keep. A phone call with a loved one, a full night's sleep because a CPAP machine keeps running, a fan in a sweltering room, or simply a phone that still has enough battery to tell you what's happening outside. And that's when you realize something else. Having power to charge your phone is one thing, but if you have no way to receive information, that phone becomes less useful with every passing hour. That's when the next item becomes your family's only link to the outside world. Number 3. Hand crank NOAA weather radio. There's one stage of a power outage that very few people prepare for. It's not when the house goes dark. It's not when the refrigerator stops running. It's when everything suddenly becomes too quiet. On the first day, most people stay fairly calm. Their phones still have battery. The internet works on and off. They check the news, text family members, and assume things will be back to normal soon. By the second day, things begin to change. Your phone battery drops faster than you expected. Public charging stations are packed. Cell service disappears in some areas. The internet becomes unreliable. News updates become harder to find. By the third day, many people no longer know what's really happening. And that's when the psychological side of a crisis begins. People have an interesting habit. When information disappears, the brain fills in the blanks. A fire truck driving down the street can make people think the whole neighborhood is in danger. A helicopter overhead quickly turns into a dozen different rumors. An unverified text message can spread faster than any official announcement. The scariest part of a crisis isn't always what's actually happening. It's what people imagine is happening. That's why information is a resource. It's every bit as important as clean water, food, or electricity. Because when you know what's really going on, you avoid a lot of bad decisions. You won't drive 20 miles only to find out the gas station closed hours ago. You won't leave home when your neighborhood hasn't even been placed under an evacuation order. And you won't panic over a rumor on social media just before your phone battery dies. That's exactly why the hand-crank NOAA weather radio exists. It won't weaken the storm, it won't restore the power, and it won't create more food. But it tells you what's real. That's what matters. While many people are trying to stretch the last few percent of their phone battery by scrolling through social media, experienced preppers usually switch to the radio. They don't need hundreds of sources. They need one reliable one. NOAA weather radio broadcasts provide the updates families actually need. Which roads are flooded? Which areas are under evacuation orders? Where the storm is heading? Whether floodwaters are rising or falling? When the strongest winds are expected to pass? And when power restoration efforts begin? There's something worth thinking about. Accurate information doesn't make a crisis disappear, but it does stop people from guessing. And that's a huge difference. Many longtime preppers have a simple habit. Before hurricane season begins, they spend a few minutes saving the NOAA frequency for their area and testing their radio. They don't wait until the power goes out to open the box and read the manual. They want everything ready the moment they need it. Another common mistake is putting all your trust in your phone. Phones are incredible tools, but they depend on battery power, cell towers, and data networks. If even one of those fails, your ability to receive information drops quickly. A hand-crank radio depends on almost none of them. With just a few minutes of cranking or a little sunlight, you can continue receiving critical updates. If you're planning to get one, look for a model with a hand crank, a built-in solar panel, a backup AA battery compartment, an LED flashlight, and a USB port for emergency phone charging. Those features aren't meant to replace your phone. They're meant to help you save your phone's battery for the moments that truly matter. In the end, remember this: people rarely make their worst decisions because they're hungry. They make them because they don't know what's happening. A radio doesn't just broadcast sound, it broadcasts certainty. And during a crisis, certainty is always more valuable than speculation. When you know exactly what's happening outside, it's much easier to stay calm and make the right decisions inside your home. But even with all the information in the world, there's one reality no weather report can change. Eventually, your supply of clean water starts running low, and that's when the next item becomes more important than ever. Number 2. Personal water filter. According to many survival experts, a healthy person can go for weeks without food as long as they have enough water, but lose access to safe drinking water, and everything can change in just a few days. That's why water sits at the top of almost every emergency preparedness plan. Yet there's one paradox that very few people realize. After a natural disaster, many people don't run out of water. They run out of a way to make the water in front of them safe to drink. That's the real problem. Imagine you've just made it through 4 days without power. Your emergency water supply is almost gone. You step outside. There's a small creek behind the neighborhood, Rainwater collected in a few barrels, a pond at the end of the road. Everywhere you look, there's water. But you still don't dare drink it. That's the moment many people realize that water and drinking water are not the same thing. People naturally trust what they see. If the water looks clear, they assume it's clean. That's one of the most common mistakes. Many bacteria, parasites, and other disease-causing organisms are completely invisible. They don't change the color of the water, they don't create a strange smell, and they don't give you any warning before you take a drink. The most dangerous thing about contaminated water is that it often looks perfectly normal. That's when a personal water filter completely changes the way you look at every water source around you. It doesn't create a single extra drop of water, and it won't make the storm end any sooner. But it turns places you once walked past into potential water sources. That's a huge difference. A lake is no longer just a lake. A creek is no longer just part of the scenery. A rainstorm is no longer just the weather. With the right treatment, each one can become a source of drinking water. That's why experienced preppers don't just store water. They store the ability to make safe drinking water. Those are two completely different ways of preparing. There's one principle that's worth remembering. The most valuable asset isn't the water itself. It's your ability to use the water that's available. That said, it's just as important to understand the limits of a personal water filter. Most personal filters are designed to remove sediment, along with many common bacteria and parasites. That doesn't mean they remove every virus or every type of chemical contaminant. That's why experienced preppers usually treat filtration as just one layer of protection. Whenever possible, they follow it with disinfection or boiling before drinking. A crisis is rarely solved by one tool alone. It's solved by multiple layers of protection working together. There's also a simple trick that can make your filter last much longer. If the water is very muddy, don't filter it right away. Let it settle first, or pour it through a clean cloth. Removing mud, leaves, and larger debris before filtering reduces the strain on the filter element and helps maintain a better flow rate. That's something many people only learn after using a filter in the real world. Another common mistake is assuming rainwater is automatically safe to drink. Rainwater can pick up dust, leaves, bird droppings, and other contaminants from rooftops and collection surfaces. Even if it looks clean, it should still be treated before drinking. Don't judge water by its color. Judge it by everything it has passed through. If you're planning to buy a filter, don't focus only on its size or price. Pay attention to the filter's lifespan, whether it can be backflushed, its flow rate, and any independent certifications it may have. A filter capable of treating thousands of gallons of water will be far more valuable during a prolonged emergency. But no matter which one you choose, don't make the most common mistake. Don't leave it sitting in the box for years. Take it camping. Filter water a few times. Learn how to clean it. Learn how to store it. A crisis is not the time to figure out how your equipment works for the first time. What's interesting is that a personal water filter doesn't give the world more water. It simply gives your family more options. And during a crisis, options are a form of freedom. A personal water filter won't make the storm last any longer, but it may extend your family's chance of making it through. By this point, you have light, you have backup power, you have information, you have clean water, and you have a way to cook a hot meal. But there's still one danger left inside the house. You can't see it. You can't smell it. And because it's invisible, many people don't realize it's there until it's too late. That's why the final item earns the #1 spot. Number 1. Carbon monoxide detector. Many people think the most dangerous part of a power outage is the darkness. But in reality, the outage is only the beginning. The greater danger often begins when people try to keep their homes warm. Picture a cold winter night. The temperature outside is freezing. The power has been out for hours. One family rolls their generator into the garage to keep it out of the rain. Another brings a charcoal grill inside. Someone else leaves the car running in the garage for just a few extra minutes. They lock the doors. They go to bed. Everything seems completely normal. The child is sleeping peacefully. The clock is still ticking. There's no smoke, no smell, no sound. That's what makes it so frightening. Carbon monoxide isn't like a fire. It doesn't warn you. You can't see it. You can't smell it. You have no way of knowing it's there. That's why carbon monoxide isn't dangerous, because it's powerful. It's dangerous because most people never realize they've made a mistake. They didn't run into a burning building. They didn't walk out into a blizzard. They were simply trying to make the house a little warmer. Carbon monoxide can be produced by generators, charcoal grills, propane heaters, portable gas stoves, wood-burning stoves with poor ventilation, and even a car left running in the garage. They're all familiar tools. The danger isn't the equipment, it's how it's used. Never place a generator inside a garage or close to windows. Never bring an outdoor charcoal grill into your home. And if you're using any type of fuel-burning heater, always make sure there's proper ventilation. But even when you're careful, you still need one final layer of protection. A carbon monoxide detector. It doesn't generate electricity. It doesn't produce heat, but it can tell you something is wrong before your body ever realizes it. That's why, when choosing a carbon monoxide detector, look for one with battery backup so it keeps working during a power outage. One that meets recognized safety standards, has a test button, and is installed near sleeping areas. Most importantly, test it regularly and replace the batteries on schedule. A detector with dead batteries can't protect anyone. If a power station keeps the power on, and a weather radio keeps you informed, a carbon monoxide detector gives you time. Sometimes just a few minutes of warning is enough to save an entire family. Some dangers you can see, some dangers you can hear. But there's one danger you'll never realize you've made a mistake about. Because carbon monoxide doesn't wake you up. It can keep you from ever waking up again. That's why this small device deserves the #1 spot. Looking back at today's list, you'll notice we weren't talking about the most expensive items. We were talking about the things that help a home keep functioning. And more importantly, the things that help the people inside that home have the chance to wake up the next morning. After everything we've covered, the most important thing to remember about a power outage isn't the darkness. It's realizing that everyday life depends on far more things than most of us ever notice. A glass of clean water, a hot meal, a reliable source of light, a trusted source of information, or simply being able to charge your phone when you need it. These are the things we almost never think about, until the day they're gone. Being prepared isn't about living in fear. It's about making sure that if that day ever comes, your family can stay calm, stay safe, and keep life feeling as normal as possible. Because in the end, the greatest value of being prepared isn't surviving a single power outage.